Holy crap, it is happening, guys. Patch 1.4.1 is out, and honestly, I was in the middle of making my item video. I'm going to put it on hold real quick. I'm going over all the information here. Everything here, I'm going to cover it right now. First time everything. I haven't seen anything about this patch, so I'm very excited to see this. So let's just get started with this. So new content. So releasing special Sonic 35th anniversary update. That's actually pretty cool. So you got Classic Sonic and the Mach Cyclone. On stream, it was shown to be double speed setup. So yeah, Classic Sonic is a speed character with his machine. Mach Cyclone is a speed machine. So we got all that. Added some cool things. So that's really nice. I'm going to kind of gloss over. I want to get to the patch notes right now. The 35th anniversary festival point rewards look sick, actually. This is really cool. And then Spin Dash Kit. I don't know what it has in store for us, but that itself seems pretty interesting. Seems like it might be some kind of offensive focus gadget. Maybe how Ultimate Charge Inferno might actually work. So it could be something similar to that. I'm very interested to see what Spin Dash Kit is. Classic Sonic and Mach Cyclone look sick. They're peak, genuinely. They did a really good job here, and a bunch of fan favorite music. I don't really mind too much. It's all cool. The singer of Here We Go, Run to the Future. Okay, the new decals are sick. Dude, they got Dr. Squatch. What is this, man? Anyways, so World Match Legend Comp improvements. So you can have double Tompa ticket chance up. Okay, that actually seems really cool. And then the new gadgets. Okay, this is what matters the most. These. I'm going to open these in a new tab so we can see these. New gadgets. So we have Ultimate Air Trick, Perfect Landing, Substitute Item, Invincible Finish, Collision Evolution, Ring Evolution, Damage Evolution, and Item Hit Evolution. I don't know what all these even mean. Ultimate Air Trick, I'm assuming, allows you to air trick super fast and probably give you an ult charge when you get 4 or more tricks off. That makes sense. Perfect Landing seems like if you do a full 360 motion and you land perfectly as your trick ends, you get a bigger boost. So something similar to maybe Perfect Charge boost, potentially. Substitute Item seems like you can actually throw one of your item boxes, maybe? Or you could, I don't know. Substitute Item doesn't make sense to me yet. Invincible Finish seems, so when you're near the last 300 to 500 meters, you probably are fully invincible. Probably a 1-slot gadget, I'd guess. Ultimate Air Trick's probably a 2-slot, based on how Ultimate Charge was a 2-slot. The Evolution gadgets, though. These are the 4 gadgets I'm the most interested in seeing, because Ring Evolution could be after you collect a certain amount of rings, you get maybe more rings per ring you collect. Damage Evolution, probably you do more ring damage when you hit a certain number of people. Collision Evolution probably gives you stronger collision boost when you collide with enough players. And Item Hit Evolution, this might be the one that you do more damage to people after you hit them, but Damage Evolution might be something where you actually, as you get hit, you take less rings of damage and less hit stun. So that's what I'm thinking these are. But one thing that shocks me, and this is just preliminary thoughts, why would you have evolutions part of the gadgets unless they're going to add something to the gadget play? Keep that in mind just going forward for the rest of this, because what if these evolutions are going to be on like an external slot gadget? Like we have a 7th slot that's specifically tied to the evolution mechanic. Maybe it's something particular to that. I have no idea. I'm just kind of throwing my thoughts out there. That'd be really cool. But again, we'll see here in a minute. So let's go back. So new gadgets, don't really say anything. The following gadgets previously distributed in festival rewards can be purchased. That's really cool. Character type kit and the advanced kit's not bad. Competitive balance adjustments. All right, let's start going into these. Version 1.4.1, we aim to boost the viability of existing playstyles across worlds. We added and adjusted gadgets accordingly. I'm very excited to see what's going on. Support list dominant strategies focused on air tricks, collision, attack items, and mercy, and new hosts of gadgets have been introduced. In addition, we've reworked certain support gadgets that were difficult to use effectively and added in new ones, ensuring all players have plenty of versatile options to choose from. Okay, this is already sounding really good, because this is something that's been a problem with the game itself, is the fact there's not a lot of versatility and not a lot of creativity. Everyone just kind of picks the 1 or 2 main combos, and that's kind of it. So I'm very excited to see what ends up happening with this. Existing gadgets that provide stat upgrades have been buffed across the board. Okay, so they can outperform on the same level as Hyper Ring Engine and newly added Evolution gadgets. That's really cool to hear. We fixed an issue with ring engines where races could be put in advantage or disadvantage depending on the starting position, reduce the effectiveness of stacking both ring engines. Going forward, more adjustments will be made to balancing gadget usage and win rates. Okay, that's really good to know. So I'm kind of curious what they did to nerf the ring engines, but the fact that they're going to be planning on more adjustments, that already makes me happy. So let's see how many rings, because when you started in the back 4, you got 30 rings. When you started in mid positions, I think it was 10 rings, and when you started in the front positions, you get 5 rings. So let's see. In all modes except time trial, all players will have 20 rings of everyone's on an even playing field? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so for people that don't know, in competitive, 30 rings matters quite a lot with double ring engine currently, and it actually got to the point where picking certain characters and having a very particular setup, actually it was better when you're in the back 4 positions in a team-based mode versus wherever you are relative to that. Like, there was actually a lot of specific nuance to this, so this actually makes it to where everyone's on the same playing field, which is very, very interesting to see. Now, this does mean that if Ultimate Charge or things of that nature where you can get invincibility, they're going to be potentially worse or better, depending if they did get better, because with the fact that everyone starts with 20 rings, if everyone's running double ring engine, your starting power does matter quite a lot. But if invincibility is a mechanic that's coming back because of Ultimate Air Trick, right, then it's going to be much harder to actually see any value off of this because, again, double ring engine power mattered a lot, and now this is going to put everyone to 20. Power actually still matters quite a lot here. It's just going to be who has the highest power, because if you are, say, in Minecart with Sonic, and someone else has like Minecart with Omega, they will overpower you, and because of them overpowering you, you're going to lose rings in the ring bump, so that actually does matter. But again, I don't know how double ring has been changed, so I'm very excited to see that. So this made certain ring-related gadgets such as ring engine less is more easier and harder to activate depending on where you started, and occasionally created a balance issue at the beginning of the race. Yep, that makes sense. Now we believe that the starting position has a smaller impact on the game's competitive scene. This I would actually argue is true. Now you don't have to worry about having very particular people in the front and back, since competitive, again, I just want to restate this, in competitive, teams had to have specifically 1 or 2 players depending on what your mode was in the back, and it did create a kind of issue where there was a lot of contesting between the teams. So in a 6v6 format, everyone had to have at least 2 players in the back, whereas in a 3v3 mode, everyone had to have 1 of their teammates in the back 4 slots, so that way everyone was on an even playing field, because if one team had 2 players in the back and another team had no one in the back, then you'd be at a massive ring disadvantage, and other players would actually overpower you quite heavily, and that would make a very big disadvantage for a lot of the teams. So this is really cool. I like this, and not only that, now you don't get affected as much when you're online, so like Legend Combat World Match, where players actually have higher points than you, they won't get that advantage of having more rings over you. You actually be on an even playing field ring-wise, so that way players in the back and the front don't have to have very particular things, and you don't have to worry about having super particular things. Everyone's kind of on that even playing field at the very start of the race, which actually is really nice. I kind of like that personally. So now that we know that, festival adjustments, King Bamboo and other powerful items are more likely to appear as the distance between players increases. That makes sense. Additionally, the ring engine, hyper ring engine can now be used in festivals. Okay, that means they might have made a huge change to these gadgets, if they're saying that already. So let's see. In version 1.3, differences in skill level and squad composition were often key determiners of the race outcome. However, ring engine, hyper ring engine had a notably stronger impact on team races than they did on modes like World Match due to their strong synergy with the invincibility from Super Team Boost and lack of friendly fire. Yep, that makes sense. We restricted use of these 2 gadgets as a result, but in light of the adjustment made in this update, you'll be able to race with them once more. Going forward, more adjustment will be made to keep festival balanced. This is a good change. I'm very happy they did this because double ring engine was a problem, especially if the players were actually good at the game. This is fantastic that they nerfed it and they fixed a lot of the problems. So I'm very, 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 very happy that the devs are actually nerfing double ring engine as a setup, even if it's not going to be like fully nerfing it. This is good. I like this personally. I think this is a great thing. I hope they nerfed it quite a bit. Not like a ton to kill the setup, but just enough that you can run other builds that make it more viable. But yeah, I do like this. And with Festival, because it's more of a casual focused mode, if you let players run double ring engine and it's too strong, casual fans cannot make fun builds. They have to either play the meta or they have to sit there and always get bottom 3, you know? And it sucks. So let's move on to the gadget adjustments. So let's see here. Oh boy, we got a lot of stuff. All right, so let's see this. Hyper Ring Engine. Fix an issue where equipping a Hyper Ring Engine on its own would not increase top speed, and now increases top speed by 4 kilometers per hour. That's really cool to know. So the devs did want to give Hyper Ring Engine a specific amount of speed, so that's actually really cool to hear. So you get 4 flat speed on top of getting the amount of rings up to 100, so that's actually cool. Next, Ring Engine, Hyper Ring Engine. The combined effect of using both ring engines has been adjusted in the following way. So now, instead of going from 11, you get 9. So this means that we're actually seeing a minus 2.5, 3. So that's actually really interesting to see. So instead of being at 200 roughly, or 199, now we're going to be at like 197-ish. So that's actually interesting. I don't know how much that's going to do. Fixing we're having fewer rings increase stats drastically. Okay, that's a big one. If that was an issue, that's huge. When using load with both ring engines comes with the drawbacks of losing rings every 0.5 seconds. The setup performed better than intended. As such, its effectiveness have been reduced in this update. Changes do not apply to time trial in consideration on their impact of the world ranking. Really? So specifically in time trial, they're not going to do a time trial reset, but this is interesting. So the fact that they're not doing a TT reset at all, but they are going to be nerfing DRE, and they're going to make having fewer rings be less effective, this actually could be really good. And overall, this is actually a really good thing. Now, it doesn't say anything about nerfing the amount of stats you get per ring and all that stuff, so that's interesting to hear. So I'm very interested to see how this works. Now, I do think only losing a ring every half second is I'm pretty sure that's all it was, but like, I don't know. It seems kind of like a slap on the wrist kind of nerf. It doesn't seem like it's a super big nerf. Hyper Ring Engine working as intended now is really cool, but with double stacking these, I think they should have lowered the max speed to 8 rather than 9. I think 9 is just slightly too high. I think 8 is actually a good middle ground where it's not too fast, but it's not too slow. And because of the fact that you can't go up to max speed or anything like that, and you can't get these increased heights of speed that you otherwise would, I think this creates a good middle ground. But again, 9 might be good enough, and I don't know for sure. So let's see. Crash Pads now takes up 1 slot instead of 2. Okay, that's interesting. Do its low rate and limited impact on match outcomes. Make Crash Pads more versatile for use in a wider range of loadouts. That is huge. So this is something I've talked about for a very, very, very long time. Crash Pads is a gadget that is limited by its slot size. The fact that it was 2 slots, it was way too much. Now that it's 1 slot, this is actually comparable to 130 ring in some aspects, because now instead of losing, having 130 where you only lose a certain amount of rings, you can now pair this consistently with 130 to always stay above 100 rings if you want to have fun builds like that. This actually makes Crash Pads more viable and more of a useful option. So this is really cool to see. In terms of how powerful it'll be, I don't know. The fact that we have Hyper Ring Engine and Ring Engine that aren't like super nerf, this may not give Crash Pads a huge change, but this could be a very big thing that actually allows Crash Pads to seep into more fun builds. That is really cool. I like that. Now the question is, will people use Crash Pads, or will everyone just kind of fixate on the Ring Engines? I don't know just yet. Patch hasn't dropped yet, so we have to wait and see. But I do think this is a very, very solid change. This, I think, is a very good change for Crash Pads, and it's absolutely deserved because this gadget is terrible, and it may be a lot better now. Item Keeper. Dark Chow can now trigger this gadget's ability with only empty item slot affected by its attacks. Equipping Item Keeper also prevents you from losing items when targeted by an attack locked onto you. Interesting. Okay. I like this. So, this gadget effect does not apply in forced item changes caused by Boost Frenzy. That makes sense. Okay. So, this is not too bad. The fact that Dark Chow will only fill your empty slots, this is a big change. So, if you've had, say, like a monster truck in your front slot and Dark Chow actually attacks you, right? Instead of losing your monster truck, now you get the odds of rolling if you had a monster truck in an item. That is cool. I like that. That's a really fun change. That means that people running Dark Chow starter can actually get gimped by you, because you could be bagging like a drill or something if you have Item Keeper. Now, if someone's banking on getting a drill with Dark Chow, you could have the last drill in your Item Keeper inventory, and they won't be able to roll a drill potentially, which makes it harder for them to get those comeback items, especially if people are hard bagging too much. I like this. And not only that, being able to not lose an item when when an attack item is locked onto you, I mean, this is just nice in general. This is really good. I like this change. This change is really cool and very interesting. I want to see how this plays out, especially if Ring Engine in Double Ring Engine itself is not nearly as strong, and it allows you to actually bag more consistently. This could be a really fun gadget to try on some plates. Speed Drift! My child! It's here! What do we got? Now knockbacks other machines for... Oh my god! The knockback effect when racing with a low power stat has been increased. Dude, okay, I don't care what it says. I know this isn't probably going to be the craziest thing. The fact that this is viable in some capacity now, you knock back people further, and the knockback effect when racing with lower power stat has been increased. The fact that this even exists, and they just said, like, power actually affected it somehow, this is cool. This, I think, is cool. I know I'm overly hyped, but I'm a Spindrift connoisseur, and I really love Spindrift as a gadget, and I have a lot of Spindrift-based builds. I like this. This change is going to be really fun, and I'm so excited to play Spindrift as soon as patch drops. This is super sick. I like this change a lot. I am super, super hyped to see how this actually plays out. I'm super excited to see how Spindrift builds can, like, do anything. Now, obviously, you can't really do certain things, but I wish Spindrift was a 1 slot. If Spindrift was a 1 slot, this would be, like... chef's kiss. It'd be so good. I like this. This is going to be a super fun gadget. In terms of viability and competitive and stuff, probably not that good. But in terms of fun and doing funny things, I'm so excited for this. I take all credit that this got buffed at all. I take all credit. I don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Perfect Charge boost. Slightly increase the duration of the boost caused by Perfect Charge. Okay, that makes sense because the Perfect Charge boost was only like a half second at most. So I like this. This is a good change. It's healthy for the gadget. It makes it better. Maybe not super good, but definitely makes it a lot better. Friction Drift. Fix an issue where the player would slow down even when not drifting. Interesting. I didn't know this was an issue. So that's good. Friction Drift's still pretty bad, unfortunately. Losing about, I think it's about 8 to 10 flat speed just by drifting. I don't like that. That's bad for it, but it still gives you 50% drift charge bonus. But this is a really good thing to just at least fix it and make it even have a little bit more potential. The quick and slow starters and super quick and slow starters. So instead of getting plus 10 and plus 20, you're getting plus 20 and plus 60. Interesting. So at the very start and end of a race, you're going to get plus 60. So let's put this into perspective. Plus 60 means you're getting 2 more points of speed instead of 1 for a super quick start and slow starter. You're getting 40 more acceleration, which doesn't really mean too much unless they fix the stats. 40 more handling makes you handle a lot better, especially depending on what vehicle you run, especially if you run like a power vehicle. Power in general means you just basically win every bump war no matter what, as long as you have 40 or more power, which almost every combo does for the most part. And then 60 boost basically maxes out your boost, which means you have the fastest drift charges that you can get, which is really nice. I like that. This seems really fun. In terms of viability, I got no idea, but I think it's definitely really, really fun. Same thing with a quick and slow starter. This is really fun. I do think slow starter and super slow starter should have been dropped by 1 gadget slot. So instead of being a 3 slot and a 2 slot, these should both be 1 slots here, and these should both be 2 slots here. Then it would be actually more potentially viable and more fun to use. Tuner gadgets. The tuner gadgets bonuses granted by the gadgets for each machine type has been doubled. So gadgets that don't match your type, you get plus 8. Okay, that makes sense. It doesn't really do a lot. Like for the boost tuner, at least, this actually will help the boost tuners out if you're going to use them off E-gear. Don't really know how good that's going to be, but gadget matching your machine type plus 20. So if we do see another legend comp for round 1 and ring engine doesn't have a really good way to slot in, crash pad's also going to be crazy. But with this, tuners being able to give you plus 20, so like with a speed machine, now you only need 1 tuner, which can allow you to change your build up, and it makes it some fun stuff. I don't know how important this is really going to be. It does allow you to hit a guaranteed breakpoint for speed, so you're always getting at least plus 1 speed no matter what your build is on speed machines. And then for other machine types, you're almost going to get into that range of going over 1 more speed, so that's pretty cool. I like it. Machine kit gadgets. The stat adjustments for matching machine types have been reworked, so until now these gadgets would give plus 20 and minus 16. Going forward, it'll be plus 20 remain, but there'll be no penalty. Interesting. This doesn't mean too much. The only thing that matters is maybe speed machine kit. That's the only one that really matters. Maybe power machine kit. Those are the only 2 that I can think of. Maybe boost machine. I don't know. I don't really think any of the machine kits are that good, but this is just a really nice buff for people that want to try machine kit builds, so it's cool. Not really that amazing. Ace Pilot, Sea Dog, and Plane Combo Kit. They got their stat bonuses increased. I don't think these matter. These really don't. They're too situational to use of. Very cool that these even exist and the devs are doing this, but these don't really matter at all. And let's see what else. So, can access friendship without clearing all 7 Grand Prix. That's really cool. Change all CPU icons to robots. Okay, that's interesting. This is in Legend competition, so we're not eligible to receive rating. You'll have the same platform icon as players. In some cases, affected gameplay. CPU opponents and all modes will now have a robot icon. That's really cool. I like that. Makes it easier for players to understand how many bots are in your lobby and who you're versing in, how hard you have to try against certain players. I like that. That's cool. Added a second account feature. I don't really think that's too necessary right now. Well, you do have Legend Comp 6 that's coming up, which is going to be very important. So this could be neat. DualSense wireless controller now supported on Steam and Epic, finally for me. Credit update, live service, yeah. Okay, of course, white least. When firing rocket punch, the other projectiles towards a jump panel, these items would sometimes travel horizontally instead of upwards. That's really funny. CPU opponents could obtain unintended items where an item is rated extreme. That's really funny. Fix an issue where certain frenzies would not appear upon. Yeah, I remember this one. This happened a few times to me. That one's funny. So it's a good thing that's fixed. Fix an issue where appearance of CPU only team cause players to not assign to a 3rd team. Okay, that's really interesting. And okay, so for the most part, nothing else changed. So in terms of what changed and what's interesting here, I think the big things to look out for are crash pads. 100% look out for this. This gadget could actually be a potentially good gadget in the future. Item Keeper itself is actually really solid. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if Item Keeper is even viable. That it hinges on the fact if double ring engine isn't that strong going forward. I think double ring engine is probably going to be the predominant build, but with this nerf, we may see ring engine and specifically the ring game boost, perfect charge bounty, quick charge 2-3 build resurge, which was the old TT build. We may see it resurge specifically in Legend Comp and World Match to compete against ring engine, hyper ring engine. So I do recommend keep a lookout for that because that could be really interesting to see. But yeah, this change here is actually really healthy. It doesn't kill DRE, but it doesn't like leave it in a state where it's like super broken from the looks of it. We'll have to wait and see. But the fact that you need more rings from the looks of it, and if they did fix a lot of this, you could actually just run hyper ring engine 130 or just ring engine 130 and it's comparable to double ring engine. So now all 3 versions of ring engine, where it's ring engine, hyper ring engine, and double ring engine, actually might be viable as their own separate builds where you can actually do something like hyper ring engine, quick charge 2, and 130 with perfect charge bounty, and that's going to be comparable to double ring engine, or a single ring engine with 130 perfect charge bounty, quick charge 2-3. That's going to be comparable to double ring engine now, I'm pretty sure. Ring game boost, quick charge 2-3, and perfect charge bounty on an E-gear might be comparable to this. There's a lot of potential here that actually allows a lot of versatile, and there's a lot of variability and a lot of creative builds actually going to be sparked up from this. This is cool. Now, again, if double ring engine is still extremely powerful and it's very, very strong and it overtakes everything still, then we may still see a DRE meta, but just losing 2 to 3 speed on this. And if this if you lose more rings if you were losing more rings with double ring engine, and the fact that you have your stats drastically increasing has now been fixed, this could be a situation where double ring engine actually doesn't have this super broken scenario of just being the only build that's strong. We may see multiple things be strong, which is actually really cool. This is something very good for the game, and I hope this actually does pan out well. Other than paying attention to double ring engine, crash pads, and maybe item keeper, I honestly think maybe look at perfect charge boost. This could still be pretty interesting. Depends on what they mean by slightly increase. If they only increase by like 0.01 seconds and puts it up from 0.5 to 0.6, doesn't matter. But if they put this up from 0.5 to like maybe 0.8 seconds, this could be something to look at, maybe a little bit more. Spin drift, definitely going to be your most fun gadget for the patch in my opinion, because this is cool. The fact you can knock more machines back further, I'm so excited for this. This is my favorite change of the patch. I don't care what anyone says. I'm super excited for this. This means that we do have a lot of potential for a lot of fun stuff, and I'm very excited for this. But there's also these guys. Again, these gadgets are the most interesting part of this change. What are the evolution gadgets? What do these do? What does perfect landing do? What does ultimate air trick do? I'm very excited to see. I'm really hoping one of these evolution gadgets is actually a viable gadget to play against like ring engines and all that stuff. I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be probably a really good patch. I think patch 1.2.1, 1.3.2, pretty bad patches for the most part in some aspects, but in other aspects they've been pretty good in their own rights. But I think this is going to be the first real patch of something actually good happening to the game and pushing the game forward in a good direction. But we won't know until we see the patch fully. So keep that in mind, guys. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I do want to cover one last thing. I got two things I want to talk about because there's some new information that's already come out. So let's talk about this. So World Championship 2026. This is really cool. I don't know how this is all going to pan out, but for Legend Comp 6, I'm very excited to see what Legend Comp 6 is going to be. The fact that this even is a qualifier for a World Championship, this is cool. I'm super excited to see this. I'm personally, and I'm just going to say this, I'm going to attempt this. I'm going to attempt to go top 24 in this Legend Comp. Do I think I'll make it? Absolutely not. I think there's just way too many good players that are going to be involved in this, but I would love, and I mean this truly, I would love to be a part of this, and I would love to actually push myself forward with this. This is really cool. I'm very excited for this, so I cannot wait for that. And then I got one last thing for you, because it's already been leaked, the gadgets and what they do. So, ultimate air trick. Do 3 more air tricks, become invincible for a short time. I predicted that one already, so that's actually really cool. Perfect landing. Press accelerate as soon as you land to get a speed boost. Okay, that's cool. This is really cool. I like this kind of idea. This seems really fun, so I'm very interested to see how that pans out. And it's a 1 slot! Dude, wait, this could be cool. This could be really good on some tracks, like Encore Force. It could be a really technical gadget, depending on how big that speed boost is. This could be really good. Okay, let's ring evolution. Get 10 rings and change all stats by +1. So, like, is it every 10 rings you change your stats by 1? Because then it becomes, like, kind of a collectathon. So that actually could be fun. I don't know how important this is going to be, but this could be really fun. I think this is going to be kind of a meh evolution, but it's definitely going to look fun. Collision evolution. Bump into other machines to change all stats by +1. So every time you bump people, you get more stats. And it looks like all the evolutions are going to be 1 slot. Damage evolution. Taking damage changes all stats by +7. So if you're getting hit constantly, you could actually take advantage of this and get a ton of speed, ton of boost, all that. So that's really cool. Item hit evolution. Land a hit with an item to charge all stats by +7. That makes sense. This with short fuse could be insane. Substitute item. Taking a hit from a homing item results in losing held items, but grants it. What? Dude, that's insane! So you can take a hit from an item, and specifically if it's a homing item like Red Glove Slicer or Green Glove, you get complete invincibility and you just lose whatever held items you have. That is cool. If it's just one held item and not both of them, that's insane. So that means you don't have to defend yourself on bends. You could quote-unquote defend yourself on bends. Okay, that is really cool. I don't know how good this is going to be, but that's really sick to see. I think that's really interesting. Finally, invincible finish. Become invincible when close to the finish line. This is a terrible gadget. This is not good. For 3 slots of value, this is terrible. You might as well just run strong finish. Don't even run invincible finish. This is terrible. This is probably the worst gadget of the patch. In terms of the best gadget of the patch, I think perfect landing is probably going to be the best one. And if it's not perfect landing, maybe an item hit evolution. These are really cool. Substitute item is going to be a very fun gadget to use. I think the best 3, perfect landing, substitute item, and item hit evolution, I think are probably going to be your 3 best gadgets of the patch. I think invincible finish, don't even use this. This gadget's garbage bad. But everything else is really cool. This is really sick. And the fact that ultimate air trick is specifically do more than 3 air tricks and become invincible, most of the time you're going to be doing this on scripted jumps or big jumps like on Radical. So like Radical Highway, you might see this, but it's not going to be that good. Really cool though. But like, I do think perfect landing is probably going to be the most likely to be a good gadget. So this one has me very excited. I think this could be really fun to use. I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I think all the evolution gadgets are super cool, and the fact that all of them are 1 slot means you can slot these in very consistently. And they do change your stats by 1 for the ring swing evolution, collision evolution, but damage and attack evolution are +7 for each instance. So again, when you do damage, I think item hit's going to be your best one next to the ring one, specifically because when you actually land a hit, you get +7 to all your stats. And again, short fuse, especially with desync, you'll hit probably like 3 or 4 people on certain tracks, so you'll get +21 to 28 stats that easily. That is cool. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. I cannot believe this patch. This patch looks freaking insane, and I'm super excited to see how this patch pans out. I really want to see what all happens, and I'm very, very, very excited to see what all transpires with this patch. My personal take on this, I think more gadgets are going to be viable and more builds are going to be viable. I'm happy they didn't just gut DRE. Now, am I happy with the nerfs to DRE? I think they could have done a little bit more and DRE still would have been viable, but that's to wait and see when the patch fully drops. I think out of all this, spin drift buffs, the DRE changes to nerf them, crash pads, and perfect landing are probably the 4 most interesting things for me. I think other than that, probably would say the evolution gadgets. Those are just so incredibly cool, and the evolution gadgets could mean quite a lot for a lot of builds, so this could be super, super sick, and I'm very excited to see how these all play out. One final last thing, I completely forgot to mention this. Now, one thing I am very disappointed about with the patch is there are no item changes and there are no point system changes. So, no item changes, no point system changes really suck because a lot of the items are very strong and they do a lot of ring damage, and you kind of have to use certain builds to get a ton of rings very consistently. So I do think that does suck for that reason. Slipstream not getting changed, I can live with that. I don't mind that at all. I think Slipstream not getting nerfed is not a terrible thing by any means, but I wish they would have changed the point system for world matching. I think world match is more of a problem because in Legend 1, usually on average you're getting only max of +10, and if you're unlucky, you're getting like +3, depending on your lobby. The point system for world match is a huge problem, and I'm very disappointed they didn't fix that. I think some of these items like Tornado should have been adjusted and been a little bit fixed, like maybe Monster Truck doesn't crush you for as long, maybe Drill does less damage and less hit stun, Tornado does less damage, less hit stun, things like that, but I can live with that as long as there's more viable builds, and the fact that they make crash pads more accessible, I think it does mean that we could see, again, crash pads just surge up as a potential defensive gadget. Who knows for sure, though, but I'm very excited for this patch overall. I would say this patch is probably about a 7.5 out of 10. Wish they would have at least nerfed like 1 or 2 items, wish they would have fixed maybe the world match point system, and maybe if they would have fixed some desync as well, that's another thing. I wish they would have fixed desync in some capacity or made it better, but again, they can't do everything in one patch, unfortunately. They could have, but I don't think they have the ability to for one reason or another. So we got to take what we can, but I am very happy otherwise. This patch has been pretty solid from the looks of it. I'm very interested to see how this patch is. I really hope this patch makes the game better, and I really hope that this game doesn't just die on this patch because there's a lot of really cool things. I mean, we still have the Godzilla City Escape track. We got Evangelion coming to the game. Like, there's 1,000 things that are going to happen going forward in year 2, and on top of that, this patch just needs to do really good. So I'm very excited to see how this pans out. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. I'm going to head out. I got to finish my item guide. You have yourselves a great one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.